got another microphone they handed me. So, Stuart, I was working for a Methodist supervisor in a hospital in Sacramento. That's where I'm from, and I was kind of going through a time where I was thinking maybe of seeking a different endorsement. That means a different denomination to take me on as a chaplain. And I asked her one day, I said, "Now, what would it take for me to become a Methodist?" And she didn't miss a beat. She looked at me and goes, "More than you got, Norris, more than you got." Okay, so I'm not a Methodist, but honorary one. But I'm very glad to be here at Indian River Methodist Church in Titusville, rather than Indian River Methodist Church in Michigan. There's a Michigan Indian. And so I looked on the site and I bought my ticket. No, I didn't. I'm just kidding. I'm glad to. Wouldn't you rather be here than in Michigan right now? So that's all I'm saying. I had a music minister friend of mine, like you've got back here, and he used to get up and look at the congregation, and he wanted to rouse them, and he just said, "Now, how many of you are glad to be here?" And then you'd hear this. "How many of you would rather be here than the best prison in the United States?" You have to say, well yeah. Yeah, I'd rather be here than then. So, look, I am a chaplain. Somebody said on the way in, they thought I lived here, but being syndicated, I can be omnipresent. Oh, no, I didn't say that, no. So I live just north of Sacramento in Auburn. Think pine trees, not palm trees. And that's where we are at 1,500 feet, getting a light dusting of snow a couple times a year. So we live in a nice place until we're looking out for the fires. So Miss Becky, my wife, has packed all the albums in the car a couple times. We haven't even gotten the evac notice. Well, she wants those pictures in the car, as you can imagine. But what is a chaplain? I get that people wonder what a chaplain is, and if there's a pastor in the house, I always like to say, well, the difference between a chaplain and a pastor is we get paid more. And they never like that joke. It's true if you're Southern Baptist, probably not if you're Methodist. But anyway, no, there's a couple of differences. A chaplain, first start with a pastor, his or her message might be I've dug out some truth, Think a man with a shovel. That's probably not far from the truth with some pastors, but we have a shovel, and we've dug up some truth, and we would like you to come to our congregation and listen to our truth. Now, I was a pastor for 7 years, so this is what I did. I mean, whenever I met someone in the grocery store, or like this guy who was fixing his flat one Saturday night, I stopped to help him fix it. And I invited him to the Bible study that the pastor leads every Sunday morning. Tomorrow morning, can you be here? It's going to be hard because I'll be preaching in the Methodist church. Well, rats, why did I stop and help you anyway? But a pastor has dug out some truth, and he or she asks you to come and listen and hear. A chaplain is a little different. They are out in the community, either the military or in the hospitals or in prisons, and some aren't serving there, they're just there, but those are some of them. That's another story. But they go to these places and they see someone digging. Allegorically, right? So they say, what are you digging for? What have you found? What is the truth that you've discovered in your life? Can I help make that more real? Can I celebrate that with you? I know, it sounds like gobbledygook, but it just is a way of a chaplain is supposed to be there with you and not be there to, as I say to many hospice patients, I'm not here to persuade you, change your mind, baptize you, or anything else. I'm here with you. So as a chaplain, I have helped tape crystals to people's wrists. I have turned the bed in the feng shui direction, put a healing blanket on the bed, put garlic under the bed, taken off my shoes, burned incense, disconnected the smoke detector to burn the incense, and read from the Quran. And I have I have collected bones to be burned, placentas to be buried, all in the name of whatever spirituality that patient is. And on Sunday, I'm a Baptist, baby. So it means that it's more important to me that that person gets what they're seeking than for me to persuade them. And I had my own pastor would say to me one day, "Oh, I just can't do what you do." Yeah, it'd be more than you got. No, I didn't say that. I said, the opportunities I have because I'm willing to follow some rules that are difficult, say, for an evangelist to follow, means that I get opportunities to witness in places that a pastor can't go. When I was here, I was the chaplain for all the launches at Cape Canaveral. All the launches. So I went in and put a prayer on people's, on their panel, on their control panels. If they asked, I had a written prayer, and these prayers were just awfully kind of, generic. But they said, Lord, make this a wonderful day and make everybody safe and have a good weather. Amen. Kind of like that. Now, I wrote them better than that. You know my writing, so I wrote a little better than that. But anyway, so I went in at 2 a.m. in the morning. They love me down there at Cape Canaveral because the first 6 months I was there, like your pastor, Stuart, the first 6 months I was there, everything went perfectly. The launches went off and everything said, my boss said, they really like you. They're very superstitious people down there at the Cape. They like everything the same way every time. They wear their socks and their earrings and whatever they have to wear to make that. So they love me because the launches were going off. And so I delivered my prayer, and that 2 a.m. that morning, launch was scrubbed. Okay, well, good luck, guys. And the general says, well, you're coming back tomorrow night, aren't you, chaplain? Well, and the general says that, oh, yes, sir. That's what I meant, sir. Yes, sir, I meant to come back. So I come back the next night, and they say to me, it comes up to 2 a.m. I'm supposed to stand in the light. Comes up to 2 a.m., and no lunch. And when I delivered the prayer, the general said, this is the same prayer you prayed last night. I said, yes, sir. It didn't work then, didn't work tonight. And then I said something, and this might have cut my active duty career a little short. I said, you're kidding. And he said, no, I'm not kidding. Okay, so came back the third night, and the fourth night, and the fifth night. Finally, it went off. Your prayer worked. Okay, yes, sir. So I see the general the next day on Patrick, and he yelled, Chaplain! What? Yes, sir. I didn't say what. I said, yes, sir. And he said, your prayer didn't work. I said, sir, I saw it launch from that pad. My prayer worked. Didn't make orbit. So in the Air Force, I had some interesting experiences, and one was I was brand new to the Air Force, stationed at Onizuka Air Station, and some of you might know where that is. It's actually in San Jose, California. And so I was stationed there, and we had our command chaplain. That's like the bishop. He's coming to see us, right? And so he said to us, he's going to come for inspection. And you've heard this. I'm here from headquarters, and I'm going to help. So he was there to help. And so the particular thing we were told to do was to make sure we got our visit records done, our contacts. Now that would be like, I think there's a little over 100 or 300 pastorally speaking here. But I said, so we were to record our visits, and that just meant everything. If I stood in front of the gym and say, hi, how you doing? And they said, hi, chaplain. Hey, that was a visit. Knock it down. So we were what's called pencil whipping. Our reports, like this and that and this and that, we were there. And so Colonel Perez, Chaplain Perez, you never call a chaplain by his rank, by the way. So Chaplain Perez arrived, and he said, I've seen your statistics. They look very good. He said, but how many of you have been to the bomb dump? Well, first of all, sir, you are aware this is Space Command, and we don't really have bombs here, but he was aware of that. Of course. But he used it as a kind of a euphemism, or as a way of saying, are you going where nobody goes? Are you visiting in places where they haven't heard of you? Are you visiting? Do you know the names of the people that empty your garbage can? Do you know the people that really need your presence in their life? And of course, this whole thing was really a not so subtle biblical reference to Matthew 25, where Jesus taught us that caring for those of a lesser privilege, the prisoner, the sick, the immigrant. Truly, I say to you, Jesus said, whatever you did for one of these brothers or sisters, you've done for me. Well, anyone who worked in anything like a bomb dump was definitely considered one of the least of these. Now, I have a friend of mine, he says, you really ought to put a moniker on your column that says, he wants me to call myself America's favorite chaplain. I like that. But after Colonel Perez came, Chaplain Perez, after he came, I realized I think I'd rather be called the bomb dump chaplain. I think I'd rather like that. So it's part of the differences between chaplains and pastors, that they're supposed to go everywhere in the community, where chaplains are allowed to go wherever people are working in the military. Now, you might have seen a book on the table back there called Thriving Beyond Surviving. So that came from a little contest I entered, a little contest. Now, I came out in my running shorts one day, and I said to my wife, I said, I'm entering a contest. She was like, for Chippendales or what? What's that about? My wife says to tell you, by the way, I'm not that funny. She says, I describe her as being funny. And she says, and when she comes to one of these events, people stand there and look at her waiting for her to say something funny. I have nothing funny to say until you put it in my mouth in the column. Okay, yes, ma'am. But, so, the AARP magazine was running, and I just turned 50, and they were running New Faces of 50 Real People Model Search. Yes, I entered a model search. Because I figured AARP magazine, hey, we all got a chance there. I mean, come on. So I read the submission guidelines, and it said to share your wisdom for living the best life at age 50 plus, and that embraces your age. And here's where I probably lost. It said submit a photo. But anyway, so I came up with this column that I wrote, and then it turned into the outline for my book. But this is my talk today, and it says 7 F words for my 50s, or faith and the other 6 F words I live by. Now, I realize that's kind of crude in some respects, but I needed to get some attention, and it's what I get, and it's what I get when I try to write the column. I try to come in with a laugh or a little something to get your attention, and then tell you a story, and then make you cry, and then make you say, oh. So hopefully that's what they do. But there's 6 things, and I'm just going to touch on a few of them. But one of them is fitness, and it keeps me thriving. I tried to play some golf and do some running and hiking, and whenever there's a waterfall somewhere, I like to find that waterfall. And so it helps me sort of push beyond the limits. Now, I know some of you are saying you couldn't run a marathon, and I couldn't today, but how I started running was just about age 50 years old, I started just running 1 block at a time. And so to me, when it comes to fitness, there's the power of the just a little bit more. If you can be fit, if you can do just a little bit more than you're doing, you can become more fit. Now, when my first pastored a church, I was in a church where they were always giving me potlucks, and I gained about 30 pounds. I'm not kidding. And I developed 30 pounds over what I am now. So I developed something called a caloric tithe. It means that I took 10% of my plate and pushed it back. So my wife goes, I'm eating 4 pieces of pizza. She goes, I thought you were on a diet. Yeah, but I usually eat 5, so. And it worked. Just the power of just a little bit more. when it comes to fitness. I lost 39 pounds until my church members were going, yeah, you're not looking so good. So put some back on. But another F word is family and friends. Now, when I come into a patient's room and I ask them, do you have any spiritual resources? And they look, I got a Bible over there in the corner. No, what kind of resources? I think family and friends have got to be among those, and we need to cultivate those things. And I went back to school this semester. I'm trying to pick up a master's in journalism, and I realized I kind of left some of my friends behind. And I go, those are my support. I'm never going to get a job being a newspaper editor, so what I'm doing at school, I don't know, but I do know that my family and friends are important. And so if you were ever a Friends fan, you know the show Friends, the comedy. There was the Phoebe character in the NBC series who popularized that term BFF, best friends forever. And I just want to take a minute to describe, and some of you read my column this Saturday, but I want to describe to you my BFF. His name is Roger Williams, and we were friends for 44 years. I met Roger he and I were Baylor students and roommates, and this is the thing, we never should have been friends. Never, ever should we have been friends. He had long hair, I had ROTC hair, right? He loved Kiss, and I made sure that he had to listen to his share of Neil Diamond. And so we shouldn't have been friends. We were friends because we did like Linda Ronstadt, right? So that was okay. But we were roommates and we were BFFs, and he piqued my interest in Baylor football only because he had a car and is a great place to bring a date. The date just didn't like my 10-speed. So I went to him, and we had ice cream afterwards, and one day he had ice cream and too much beer together, and that's just not a good combination. And so I didn't even drink. I still don't like beer, but we were so different. He was a social work major, and I was religion major. I was a ministerial student, and he just wanted to help people. And I'm like, He'd go to church with me sometimes if he wasn't sleeping too late, and I would wear my 3-piece suit, and he would wear, what is that you have on? Jeans with holes in them. And so we were very, very different. But eventually, we would become very good friends, and our churches would take us to station near each other, and we were never too far apart, except, when I moved to the New Testament city of Smyrna in Izmir, Turkey, but only for a few years. But we were good friends, best friends. So much so, you may have had a friend. Does your spouse ever say, and don't tell? My wife frequently said, and don't tell Roger, but I know you will. Yeah, I did. I told him. In these days of division, I want to encourage you to look for friends in unexpected places. Places that you would never think of finding them. I want you to seek out friends of different colors, dissimilar political interests, dare I say unique sexual orientations, because that's a hotbed. But seek somebody who's different than you. Reach out to somebody who's got a tattoo. Yeah, I made the bet, and yes, it was in a bar, and yes, it was with military people, and yes, I just got through running 2 marathons, and so that's my marathon tattoo. See, we're not all bad as people with tattoos. Reach out and talk to somebody different. Just walk up to them. It's not that difficult. And just say, Roger sent me. 13 months ago, Roger was diagnosed with his 4th reoccurrence of actinic cell carcinoma, and he was placed in the hospital. And on the last Sunday, he went only about a month from diagnosis from his fourth occurrence to us sitting on this couch together, shoulder to shoulder, as we had stood for 45 years. We said our temporary goodbyes. I held his hand. I'd never held his hand before. I held his cooling hand, and then I laid my head on his shoulder. And in between my sobs, I read these very words to him that I just shared with you. Roger, we shouldn't have been friends. But I told him he was my BFF. And he said, that's okay, Norris. It'll be all right. And soon he was asleep. And 4 days later, my best friend forever died. I wouldn't trade that for anything. Friends, that's the F word I live by. They sustain you and they keep you. And I also put in the book a whole chapter about finances, but I'm not a financial advisor, and I've often told people, yeah, don't take your financial advice from a chaplain, just don't do it. But you may have followed me and through some things where we actually sold our house, and we sold everything that we had and left whatever we had left in a 10 by 10 and moved over to Brussels, Belgium for 3 months, and Honduras after that, and Canada, and all because we had planned with some finances. Now, not everybody's able to do that. Now, I will just give you in my own, lest you think I'm a rich chaplain. I mean, did you hear me say I sold my house, so I didn't have a house payment, so that was a big thing. But the thing that I decided about finances, the thing a chaplain can teach you is spend your money on experiences. Spend your money with people. Don't spend your money on I was out with a guy the other day on a boat, and he's like, oh, I got to get this new top. I go, why? It looks good to me. I'd rather spend your money on taking us to dinner tonight or something, let's do something and be active. Well, we had just gone sailing, so that was pretty good on him too. But, so spend your money on people and things and give more money. Give more money. I've learned it. I turned 65 this year, and we doubled our giving budget this year. And we just, if you've not experienced it, then I can't persuade you. But giving money to people, to things, to help will make you thrive. That's your financial advice from chaplain. He also taught me, the F word for fun. If you've known me a little bit, you read my columns, I've had a little fun, but I write a lot of self-deprecating stuff and stories, and so I try to tell people, have some fun. And in Iraq, when I was in Iraq, we'd have a wounded guy come in, and I'd say, oh, did he get hit by an IUD? And chaplain, that's IED. IUD goes somewhere south of the border. Okay, and I only did that 7 times. So if you can't make fun of you're the biggest source of fun that you have. Like I wrote a column, and it got such a huge response, and it was all about. We left, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, we left the grocery store, and we got onto the parking lot with a big load of groceries, and down at the bottom was a roll of toilet papers, and Mrs. Chaplain was what I like to call her when she's not around. She pulls it out, she goes, did you pay for this? Yeah, probably, Well, where's the receipt? Somewhere, it's probably, and I'm thinking I probably didn't, but it's like, she finds the receipt. She's a school teacher. I mean, she's checking every line. She goes, it's not on here. Yeah, okay, we'll get it next time. No, we'll get it this time. And so I start thinking, I go, yeah, I'm a chaplain. I just want to go back in there. And I get this thing going in my mind. You ever, Walter Mitty kind of thing, this is what's going to happen when we walk in. I'm going to walk up to so we'll just go up to the manager's counter and we'll say, we forgot to pay for this and we'll pay for this. And they'll probably say, hey, you're Chaplain Norris. I read you in your paper. You're so honest, Chaplain Norris. That is so wonderful that you do that. And Norris, what? My wife's talking and she says, no, we'll just go to the self-checkout line. But no one will see the wonderful things we do. No one will see how honest we are. Yeah, it'll just be me and you. Just go to the self-checkout. We'll be out in a minute. If you can't make fun of yourself, if you can't find fun in here, you're looking in all the wrong places. And I find fun in here. And if you can't admit to someone how funny it is that you just did something stupid, well, you're not having as much fun as I am. That's all I got to say. I am going to tell my last story that is, let's see, what time we got? I have all kinds of stories up here. I just like to. So most of you know, in 2009, I volunteered to go to Iraq, and I was there for a deployment there. And if my Army friends were here, I'd say, yeah, it was just 4 months. Yeah, it was just 4 months. They're going, hey, we go for 15 months. Oh, yeah, sorry, you joined the wrong group. But I went for 4 months and was the senior chaplain at a hospital there and saw all kinds of amazing things and people. And I wrote, some of you read it. Some of you maybe showed up, and when I got back, we were all at an auditorium somewhere up here. I don't know if you come to see me, but we talked about what happened there. So I am getting ready to leave Iraq and packing up and just, as you can imagine, going home, and I'm just thinking of my wife and thinking of all the ways, never mind. So I'm thinking, and so I'm ready to go home, and so get on what's called the Freedom Bird, they call it. It's just a chartered airline, World Airways, it's set on the side, to go home. And we made several stops and to pick up people along the way. But we left Iraq and Italy and then Germany, and I think I saw what are those things, those tripods, those things in Egypt, what are those called? Anyway, yeah, so I saw those for a second. And so we're in the air over the Pacific, and I'm thinking, man, I've just been through an amazing time. And I just couldn't help but think of just about a month before that. And I'm sitting on a plane just in my Walter Mitty world thinking of these things and thinking of Easter Sunday, just a month before that, where we had 3 or 4 people come into our emergency room. And they had been hit by an IED. And their vehicle had blown up. It actually was a different kind of bomb. I forgot the acronym now, but it pierced the armored plating and went through, and it's designed to decapitate or take off a limb or something like that. And so in it came, and so I'm in the emergency room when they all come in, and the first person I talk to is just this 98-pound medic. She said, "What's happened to my squad leader? What's happened to my squad leader?" And she goes, "I tried to save him. I tried to save him." She had climbed back into the vehicle, half blind, her arm broken, and reached into the cavity and pinched the femoral artery closed with her fingers. But there's no point. The doctor said, "But you can't hold that. We can't even hold that. That's because when you let it go, it goes back up into the groin and you can't." And so she lost her sergeant. She said, "I tried to save him." So we put her under for her surgery and came to the next guy. I'm thinking about all this on the plane. And came to Sergeant Crawford. That's his real name. It's not in the book back there that I write about Heroes Highway. That Heroes Highway describes the hospital landing pad that was called Heroes Highway. And so he comes in the Heroes Highway and he says to me, I mean, you can imagine, I'm sort of shook up right after I heard this story and saw this. And he says to me, "Oh, hi, chaplain." He said, he's not too badly hurt. He said, "Can I have a Bible? I lost my Bible in the explosion." And I'm thinking, well, yeah, I'll go get you a Bible. If I can get out of this emergency room mess for just a minute, I'll go get you a Bible, right? We think that way sometimes. Us, especially as guys, we like, what can we do rather than to say, what can we be? So I said, yeah, I can get you a Bible. And I come back with a Bible, and he said, and just one more thing, he said, "Can you pray with me?" Bible, prayer, chaplain. Yeah, I can do that. I said, but this is what I ask, and I ask a lot of people in the hospital this, because I don't want to assume that I know what you want to pray for. I assume a lot of hospice patients want to pray that they'll be healed, but they don't. He said, "I want you to pray for the people that killed my sergeant." And then I said, part of the chaplain language I was taught, what would that prayer sound like? Because again, I'm wanting him to say it. He said, you know, that prayer that Jesus prayed on the cross. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." He said, "I want you to pray that they'll be forgiven, and I also want you to pray that they will eventually know what they've done and understand that it's wrong and that we're here to help." Well, that's a whole political question too, but he just wanted them to know that he himself was a good guy and he wanted to help. So I remember doing this, like patting your pockets. Like, did I forget something? Is my pen around here? Is my glasses? What I forgot were the words for a moment. But I bowed and I said my prayer. And as I did, I remembered when I closed my eyes, sometimes you can see things in the dark better than, and I just saw that whole moment of that bomb going off and that whole explosion and that loss, and just thinking what a better world this could be if people started with prayers like this Sergeant Crawford did. Like I said, moved by some terrific experiences. And then I hear the announcement. All right, put your trays up and your seats up and prepare for landing, and we'll be around one more time to get the garbage. And I'm thinking, oh, yay, Baltimore, that's where I'm going to land first, and then I'm off to Sacramento, and wow, great reunion. And so we are, and all through the flight, I'm hearing all kinds of voices around me. I'm hearing this one married lady kind of flirt with people she shouldn't be flirting with, and I hear some people cursing about things and all kinds of things I'm hearing. And so, but we're coming into Baltimore on Cinco de Mayo. Such a beautiful day it was. And then our landing gear hit rather hard, I think. But, don't take your flight advice from a chaplain. But when it hit the second time hard and it hit the third time hard and we started porpoising like this in the air, and eyewitnesses would say they thought we were going to flip, and the accident report would say we hit the ground at 3.2 Gs. People were yelling, "Get a hold of it! Get a hold of it!" Two planes, one of a delivery plane in, I can never think of the delivery service, DHL or something like that, flipped in doing the same maneuver, flipped in Japan just the year before. I researched all this for the book. And so this pilot did what he's supposed to do, what he was trained to do, rather than the other pilots. He took us back in the air. And I'm like, I do not want to be up here. Why can't you put this thing on the ground? In fact, the accident report would say that we broke the spar of the aircraft. The spar, for probably every one of you needs to know, is the backbone of the aircraft. You cannot fly with a broken spar, but we did. And we went back up for 20 minutes. We emptied all the fuel. People were crying, praying, and cursing. But that was me. And we came back for 20 minutes. Emergency vehicles were called. I've seen it on YouTube. You can find the accident on YouTube. You can find the accident report. You can find all the kinds of things that went wrong with that aircraft that shouldn't have been back up in the air. And we came back around in 20 minutes, landed that plane as smooth as glass. And people were like, Chaplain, I thought we were going to die in Iraq, but not in Baltimore. And by the way, if you ever fly into Baltimore, just mention to the pilot, as I did 3 days ago, is that DC-10 still around here? You were on that? That's all I said, I promise. I said, does that DC-10? He said, were you on that? I said, yes, sir. And told him the story as quickly as I could. But up there in the air, I'd forgot to tell you, I prayed. I go, well, God, you know, I'd sure like to live, but let's just do a quick life review. So, how's everything? You know, God's saying, like, how you feel like everything's settled? Yes, I think it's all settled, God. I think everything's cool. I think, you know, my kids are grown and feel like I've done everything I'm supposed to do. Except for turn off your phone. That's what he said. I forgot I have a great speech about phones. Do you know, let me just ask you, for those of you who don't know, was that a boy phone or a girl phone? It was a boy phone, and I'll tell you why I know. If your phones ring, ladies, it's like, oh, how rude. Somebody around me is, oh, that's my phone. And then it rings 2 or 3 times. And then you're looking through the slots and you finally find it and you turn it off about the 6th ring. So if it rings 6 times, it's a lady's phone. If it rings once, it's a guy, because we know right where our phone is and it's boom. We know where all the buttons are. It's off. The last speech I gave, it was a girl phone. So anyway. Well, God said, except, no, I don't hear God in my pocket. I mean, that's another story too. How do you hear the voice of God? But I felt saying, except there's one thing. And he reminded me of a colleague I'd had. This colleague that I had known when I was stationed in Turkey. His name is Greg. And Greg and I thought we were best friends, and then suddenly we weren't. It's one of those kind of things. And he said some things maybe to people he shouldn't have said, and I ended up getting, I'm just going to tell you, I got a bad report card. So some things were misconstrued. I don't know. I'm not going to go into the why, right? But probably what happened there meant that I was going to be passed over for a promotion on active duty. And if you have military experience, you know that it's up or out. You can't just stay captain your whole career, which I was just really pleased to do, because the captains got to go to the bomb dumps, and the colonels had to tell you to go to the bomb dumps. So, but anyway, so I sort of blamed him. Now, I came all right. I landed on my feet. I became a hospital chaplain again. I left here at Patrick in 2002. And I got off active duty, and I don't know, maybe there's a connection here. April Fool's Day, but I got off active duty then and went into the Guard for the next 20 years and had a great time. But I still always had it against my friend after that experience on the plane. And I thought, well, there's just one thing to do. I'm going to go find him, and I'm going to tell him what a rat he was, and I'm going to tell him he needs to ask me for forgiveness. Okay, you know, I'm not exaggerating a lot. I mean, a little bit. But I just need to find him. I just need to settle this. I need to say what happened in my review, because we separated to different assignments, so I never got the chance to do anything with him. So I was out here speaking in Florida, and I found out he had a church over there in Tampa, and I drove over there, and I walked into his office, all because of Sergeant Crawford. All because of what he said on me on the battlefield or on the hospital. And I said to him, I walked in, first I sent him an email, said, could I come by? And I got this suspicious look. Yeah, sure, I guess, maybe, sure, I guess. And so I walked into his office and I sat down. And suddenly we were talking about our families and our daughters and our things and things. This is like going a little too well. I'm like, I don't like this. But finally he said, well, you know, what's up? What brings you here? And I said, well, I didn't like the way we left things. That's all I said. I didn't like the way we left things. And then he said to me, see, girl phone. Then he said to me, well, I hope you can forgive me for whatever I did. He said, I don't have a great memory. And I remembered that about him, actually. He said, I don't really know. Can't really say a lot about what happened back there, but whatever it was, if something we didn't, I hope you'll forgive me. And then I said, I think it was me. It didn't sound like me. And then I said, well, I hope you'll forgive me. What? That's not what I came here to say. But that's what came out. That's what came out. All because of Sergeant Crawford. So when I look at the F words I live by of faith and fun and forgiveness, and I call it flight, F for travel, the most important one I live with is forgiveness. And I hope that you'll remember those words of Sergeant Crawford. As we leave here today, I hope you'll laugh, you'll have a little bit of fun, you'll come back, we have a little video for you to see. I forgot to even mention it, so I'm going to mention it real quick. Just a 2-minute video. You can stay, it's fine. So a lot of you have heard about my daughter's project in Honduras, the Chispa project. It's pronounced Chispa, like spark is spark in Spanish. So we start libraries in elementary schools. We're there for a couple of days, and we catalog all the books, and we paint the walls, and we form, like every teacher has a teacher's library in the United States, but so that's what we build, is little libraries, like 200 books in a classroom, 1,200 books in a school. And so we go there, and at the last couple of days, we have, like, I call it like the vacation Bible school days, where we play games with the kids and we read books and just have a lot of fun. So we're going in March and April. I'd love for you in May and June, and we'd love to have you along. And I'm just going to show you this video. And you're here today, as I said. I hope you brought money for the cookies and the things and the books. But if there's going to be an offering, or I don't know if you got a plate or something back there they're going to fix for you. And if you would like to contribute to the Chispa project, because many of you have, I would love for you to do that. The last place I was in I won't compare that. So, but anyway, was generous, and I hope that if you already have all my books, because you've heard me speak. I haven't written another book in 7 years, so one's coming up. But I hope you'll contribute to that. But moreover, I hope you'll come with us. It's $1,100 for the whole week. You pay your flight, but it's $1,100. We put you up and everything. So let's play the video. And when it's over, I will be back.
Calling all volunteers, the time is now. In Spanish, chispa means spark, and that's exactly our goal, to inspire and empower Honduran students with books. Volunteering means making a library and giving a kid access to books for the very first time. We start from scratch, painting, setting up bookshelves, stickering books, and sewing cushions. Don't worry, we'll put your talents to work. In turn, it's truly the chance of a lifetime to visit a place few people get the privilege to know. Let Honduras surprise you, teach you, stretch you, welcome you, and share the beauty it has to offer. You don't need to speak Spanish. Kids have their own language. We have several trips you can join along with next year with our fixed dates or plan your own. Families, churches, friends, or other groups and organizations are all welcome. The trip fee covers all your expenses in Honduras, and 30% of it will go to the library project itself. When you come, you will give so much, but you'll return with so much more.
On behalf of Senior Ministries and our church, we thank you, Chaplain Burks, for coming. Let's give him a hand.